everybody, this is going to be my first project video, and I'm going to make a simple shop stool / bar stool. You can use it for kitchen stool, whatever. Now I don't have a prototype, so this is going to be done from the beginning so everybody can kind of see, well, mistakes happen. Here I have one of the legs. It's going to be, this is a short leg, it's just for a sample, but this will illustrate the slant of the leg. Both ends have a 7-degree compound miter on it, both directions. Now to select the leg wood, I got some old junky wood off an old deck project built a couple of years ago. I worked construction most of my life, built decks, houses, everything. So, an old pressure treated 2x10. This is the end I cut off a board to give you a demonstration of the wood we're going to use. Show you the grain. The grain here. It's running kind of down like this. That's almost like quarter sun. Closer you get in, this away, rips on. Cathedral grain. Then back on the other end, you can see it's all squirrely here, but I got some straight grain here. I want to use this part, the straighter the better, down to about here, for legs. It's more stable, it doesn't tend to twist and all. Now this wood's old, it's fairly dry. Even though it was stored outside, it's been sitting in the summer sun now for about 2 years, so it's pretty darn dry. For a 2x10, I have, maybe 9 1/16 out of it. That's how much it shrunk. It probably was 9 1/4 to 9 3/8 when it was wet. It's a little less than an inch and a half thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my pieces of this to a real rough length, longer and wider. I'm going to run them through my planer and knock off this old ratty outside. Now this one even has a whoop-de-doo in it. You can see how it goes like a cup in the wood. Now you get that a lot with a cathedral grain. But by cutting these short pieces out, I kind of eliminate that cup, if you see what I mean. Now I don't have a joiner, but I do have a planer. And I have a table saw. So by using either one of them two, I can kind of get a good straight edge on this. And this is a shop stool. This isn't a piece of dining room furniture, so it doesn't really have to be that good, because I'm going to round all the edges anyway. So I'm just going to cut them 1.5 inches rough, square, out of these long pieces. Now what I'll do, I'll cut the length of my legs. I'm going to cut them like maybe 30, 32 inches. I might only need, I'm thinking somewhere is for my height in this shop, 26, maybe 26 and a half height at the seat of the stool. So my legs really don't have to be that awful long, but if I cut them at 30, as I run that pieces through the planer to get them straightened up, I'm not going to have a problem with the snipe on the ends. You get a little snipe on small pieces once in a while, so you got to keep the pieces long. Now with my planer, they recommend at least 14 inches. But if I'm going to make like the parts for the stretchers in between the legs, the top stretcher is going to be, let me see here, it's 7-degree cut on both ends. And the bottom stretcher, the bottom stretcher will be 12 1/4 long, and the top 8 5/8. So if I make them 15, 16, rough length, I'll run them through the planer. Maybe I'll put them both together, make it like a 30-inch piece. I cut 2 of them out, 2 tops, 2 bottoms. So I need 4 of each for each stool. Because in between each leg, I'm having 4 right at the top of the leg, down on the leg, like around 8 inches off the floor, is going to be the one. At the bottom, that'll be the 12 1/4. And what we're going to do with that is use it for a footrest and for support for the legs. Now this leg, like I said, is compound, so it's going to sit this way. So by that way, it leans 7 degrees in this way and this way, both. And that keeps the 7-degree tilt for all the sides. Very simple. Now I have a compound miter saw to cut mine. If you don't, you can use a hand saw. If you have a 7-degree protractor, anything you can use to make your 7 degrees framing square, or you can use, what I always use is a carpenter's rafter square. If you have to do it by hand. And make 2 7 degrees, put the lines on there and cut it with a hand saw. You can also set it flat on a table. Say this was going to be your leg. You can set your leg after the stool's made. It's going to tilt in because the stretchers will hold it in, and just use a spacer, so you can scribe. So if it's tilted this way and you put a piece of wood around it, you can mark right across it on a flat surface, like a table saw or a table. Okay, well, we got a pile of wood here that's been planed on both sides. Now I can size this wood now in a table saw, which is going to be the next thing. Got legs. These are almost 10 inches longer than what I need. So that'll give me plenty of room to cut the bad stuff out. I only need 4. I got 6. That way, I got a couple of spare pieces for a test piece or whatever I might need, and I have enough here, I believe, to make my stretchers on the stool, or rails, whichever you want to call them. I need 4 pieces. Let me see here. I believe we're going to need 4 pieces, about 12 and a half, 12 and a quarter they are. 4 pieces, 8 5/8. And for the seat, I got more wood to process for that. Deciding whether just to make 3 pieces and use like a 2x4 and 2 2x6s. That'll give me 14 and a half, and just leave them original, or to glue it. I think I'm kind of leaning towards the glue job, and I might even go towards a laminate job where I could cut a bunch of strips X amount of inches wide, maybe 2 inches or whatever, by 3/4 of an inch thick, and go with a curved seat idea, which you could make a template and rough cut them on a bandsaw or a jigsaw, whichever way you want to use, whichever tool you have to use, and you can route them with after you get them roughed out. Put them on the flush trim bit and a router, follow the template around, and get a good job. Okay, well, I'm going to set up the table saw now, and I'm going to cut these to size. Kind of leaning towards a 4-inch top, rail wide, and maybe a little something narrower at the bottom, maybe 2.5, 3. I'll probably cut it at 3, and if I want to cut it down further, I can, just to see what it looks like. Okay, let's get the table saw set up. I think we had a couple of camera problems there, so you'll have to bear with me. This camera is not the greatest thing in the world. It's an old Samsung jobby, and it's made for taking stills more than it is video, but it does take video, apparently. Alright, well, what we're going to do now is, I got one side, looks pretty darn true here. What I'm going to do is cut these down to width. And I think for the top I'm going to go 4, or for the bottom ones 4, the 12-inch ones will be 4 inches wide. Although, I don't know, maybe I'll do it, I'm going to go to the top. The 8.5 is going to be 4 inches wide. That's what I want to do. 8 5/8 will be 4 inches wide, excuse me. And the bottom ones are going to make the narrower ones. I think it'll give it a little better scale that way too. I might make them 2.5, 3. And all this is going to just be this is going to be old glue and screw joints. I'm not doing no mortise and tenons on this little doodanger. It's not worth the trouble. Alright, I might just take 2, I'll get 2 long ones out of this piece here. And here, I got a short piece. Look pretty good. I can get a good 12 and that would take all that, and I can get all my short ones. 8, 8, 8, 3. Okay, I lost some of my video cutting these pieces up with the angle. Well, here's a piece of scrap. I'll show you how I did one, and they're all the same. It's really kind of boring. I have a stop set up here for the 12-inch, and a mark here. So all I did was take the piece, set my line for the short ones here, and cut it like that. That's all, and just flip the piece over, bump it up to the line, and cut the other side. It's just simple as that. Now what I got to show you now is the legs. Now these things are going to be, it's got a little whoop-de-doo in that one. That's pretty good. Alright, now here's a one leg. Now what I'm going to have to do is compound this. I have this tilted this way at a 7 degree. The saw is tilted this way from the fence, 7 degrees, so I get a compound miter cut both directions of 7 degrees. Now what I'm going to have to do is set the length of my legs with a stop, which isn't too difficult. This saw has a sliding arm on it with the ability to stop that I can lock at any position. So what I got to do is take the first leg. These are halfway square now. I can run them through a planer again if I have to. But what I want to do is take one leg like that, one end. And that gives me my compound miter on the end. Now I want to keep this angle set this way, so it comes out the same on the top. So when I have my stool, when the leg sits, this angle will be flat up here. If you get my drift, so when I put my piece in, it'll all come out straight. In other words, my angle piece will fit in straight like this. Now see, now these angles will match. And everything will be straight. And same leaning this way, it'll be straight. So what I got to do is basically, that's the way it was, that's the way it was cut. Now I got to move this out of the way. What I can do, it doesn't really matter as long as they're the same. Set this to my length, which I'm going to run my tape measure over to the blade here and set this. I'm going to set the first 26 and a half, I think I'll go 27 inches. It doesn't matter exactly because I can cut them down. Now, with this set at that, all my legs will be the same length now. Simple as that. Now all I have to do, take this, one leg, just like that. This will sit here. This will fit up here. Well, actually, this one's going down the bottom, but you get the drift. All you gotta do is cut the other 3 legs. That's simple. Okay, here we go again. Now we have 4 legs that have been cut. Now I can mark these legs so I know where they're going to go. Alright, I got a leg that's like this. I know that this leg here we got to get the disposition of all the legs. Alright, these 2 here can be buddies. So in other words, I'm going to have here, on the insides of these legs, I put an X. And that way I know, like this is going to be here and that's going to be there. Now if I like this, it doesn't matter because a stool square, you don't have a front and a back. So you just got to pair up what you got. Alright, so these 2 can be a pair. Like that. Same with this. I have one leaning in this way, straight. And let me see which way this one is. And this one here. Okay, so this is a pair here. X and X. And this one here is going to be the same thing. They're just like mirror images, in other words. If I got a mirror image, bingo, I got it right. So I got there and there, so I put my X, 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 X there. So this way, when I go to put this together, I don't stick the pieces the wrong way, you know? So this side here would be, in other words, the mirror image over here. Just like that. So, we can take this and take these pieces here. Now we have long ones and short ones. Well, the long ones are going to have to go down the bottom here. Okay, like I was saying, you put these together in like 2 pieces, and you're going to come up with a frame that looks something like this. You make 2 of these frames, and then you stick your bottom and top piece in the frame, and by George, I got a stool. Now, as far as the top is concerned, I haven't, you know, I'm using dimensions that I got off a video, and the men used rough cut wood, in other words, 2x4s and 2x6s to build a stool. And there was no audio in it other than music. And the guy, you know, chopped it up a couple of scenes with cutting some pieces up, and half the video was, I don't know, his daughter or his wife. I couldn't tell who. It doesn't say. Excuse me. And they were sanding it for most of the video. I mean, and didn't show you putting it together or anything like that. So I just got the general idea, and I took it from there. This is basically, I've changed all the sizes of all the parts quite a bit. He went from, you know, the seat was made out of two by 6s and a 2x4, which comes to 14.5 inches, and just sanded, you know, basically lumber. Well, I'm going to run mine through a planer, probably make them a little thinner there, and I'm also going to cut them down, and I'm going to glue up maybe instead of 2 or 3 pieces, I might glue up like 4 pieces. I don't know yet. I'll just get something good that I like, looks nice, and something that doesn't have a lot of knots and stuff in it, and we'll go from there. But basically, we have the wood and all for the frame. Now, the next thing what I want to do is take all these pieces here, and I'm going to set up the router table, and I'm going to round over the edges, with the exceptions of where the pieces are going to be joined. I just want the outside edges done. So I got one, like the outside corner here. Now this is sitting on the top, say like so. Right? So this has to be routed down. This is just easy edge slightly. But the outside edge here, which is sharp, this is going to get ease. And then I got all these saw marks here. Well, they'll come right off with a sander. It's not a big deal. And then on the other side here, I have this piece here, and this is going to be the same thing. We have a top here, and the bottom here, and the other piece. And then at the bottom here, this will go. I don't know if the camera's picking this up. The way I have it set, this is a one-man show here, but that's basically what it's going to look like. It'll be a nice little stool. Now all these edges here, I can relieve the top edges on this and the bottom edges. This part you want to keep this where your joints are straight, unless you want to accent them. I've seen people chamfer and just you see a little line where all the joints are. But that's it. So there's what's kind of, you know, on the table there, what it looks like. I can't hold the camera and do what I got to do at the same time. It makes it kind of difficult. But here we go. This was at the top of here, where the leg meets this brace. Now, if you get this all lined up, it doesn't match quite perfect at the top, because the top of these rails here are going to need a 7-degree angle. Now that wasn't in his video, but I just happened to notice that, and I said, well, heck, we're going to have to fix that. So what I'm going to do is basically take my legs the way they belong, and what we're going to do, now even on the bottoms of the top rails, I'll go in here, but they'd be a little crooked. It wouldn't matter down the bottom. You round these two edges over, wouldn't even notice it. But the top ones here, up at the top, that's the top one. That's gotta match. Let me see here. There we go. Bingo. Like that. They gotta match at the top. So what I'm going to do is line this up and tilt my table saw blade to 7 degrees, and then I can just slice that little tiny bit off, run them through all the top pieces through the table saw. I don't think it's necessary to do these bottom rails. I'm just going to round these over with a round over bit, all 4 sides probably, except for the edges. Leave them flush so they mate here. And we're going to drill 2 holes here, and then 2 holes in the center, like in between them 2 holes. So the screws, and then we'll screw and glue these together after everything's sanded. And all. I'm going to do all my sanding, a lot of it first. It's a lot easier to sand it when it's apart than it is when it's together. Okay, I got the pieces here. I cut a 7-degree bevel on the top of the top pieces, and they fit extremely well. If you put all 4 of these pieces together here, you end up with a beautiful fit. Now there's another way that you can build this thing too, doing the same thing as with the legs. It's just putting these things together in a square and then adding the legs in the middle and screwing them on. Or there's a lot of ways to build these things, but I'm going with this way. Alright, what I'm going to do, I decided it only takes 5 seconds to do. I'm just going to run the bottom rails too through the table saw at 7 degrees, the same setting. What I did is just use this angle here, put it flat in the table saw and tilted my blade till they matched. Then I know I'm right. Bingo. I don't even have to do nothing, no figuring out there. Just when the saw hits flat, go to it. And I'm going to cut the bottoms off now, and we'll be good with that. And the next step, I guess, is going to be I'm going to cut up the seat material and run it through the planer and get that drying out. So get some air to it, because when you cut wood, it's been, even though it's been sitting for a long while, when you take the skin off, it's like peeling the skin off of your lunch meat or something like that. When the air hits it, it dries. Well, the same with wood. Once you peel the outside layer off, you get the same effect. The wood dries. So when you cut it up and all that, it's best, if you're doing any furniture projects that you care about, it's best to let that wood dry out and acclimate. And it might be good to sticker it and tape them together and keep them straight so they don't twist like bananas. You end up with a pile of hockey sticks or something. Okay, well, I'm going to cut that out now, and I'll be back. Okay, we got all the pieces cut up now. They're all, I round the edges over. Bottom sides on these, this is where the seat will sit there for the tops. All 4 sides for the rails and the bottom. The legs, just the outside corner. Next part we got to do is we're going to have to sand everything up here. Get it halfway decent shape. And then build the seat and assembly. I think I'm going to end this section here. This will be part 1 of my first video here. And I'll have to edit this out, all this stuff up, and get it all edited and what have you, and we'll go to part 2, and that'll be the cutting up the seat, gluing it, and drilling holes, legs, pilot holes for this, and countersinking them. I'm going to put them together with screws. I don't know whether I'm going to plug them yet or not. It's just a shop stool. I mean, you can countersink them with drill 1/4-inch holes and then countersink the hole, a pilot hole through into the piece here, and go that way. I can set the table, or my drill press over there, that little guy I got. I can tilt the table to 7 degrees and drill the holes straight in. It'd work. Alrighty, well, I'm going to end this video now, and we'll see you next time on part 2.